So this is another one of those videos where I have no idea how it's going to go, but we're going to try it anyway. So previously when I was playing with fans, those were those box fans, and the only thing I had that I remembered I had was that fancy power strip. Well, after that, I remembered I had this, a kilowatt EZ. However, this one only is good for recording how much power you use overall in kilowatts. It does not have the granularity for amps and watts and those sorts of things. So this is what I used to have and bought 5-10 years ago, somewhere like that, to try and track our air conditioner usage, and still couldn't really tell how much it was doing. So then I looked online, and this one, same brand, P3 International, kilowatt, it will do volts, amps, watts, kilohertz, or hertz rather, and you can do, how much it's used over time, clock, all that fun stuff. So the other thing I was doing recently is replacing bathroom fans. So you have to do that once in a while. We have the kind that uses those. That's a brand new one in the box. This one was in our back bathroom, and this one had been in a box as a spare on the shelf, and when the one in the bathroom went not so good, or it was totally clogged up and needed dealt with, but also been there a long time, I figured, okay, I'll put the spare, which was this one, in there and replace it, and then I'll work and I'll get another one when I get to the store. Well, shortly thereafter, my wife said, hey, the fan stopped, so this was may have been on the shelf as it didn't look too horrible, but it was still not happy. So I took it apart. It basically, you'd spin it and it would go, and I should have put this on first. So if you got that on there, you would push it with your finger and it would go this far and stop. Kind of like that. Yeah. Where normally, if you would spin it, it would go at least a full rotation. But when you spin it like that, it would only go like that far and then stop. So I took it apart, and this does not have bearings in. It has, I guess, those oil-like bushings with the felt around it and a brass type thing. So eventually, over time, the oil in the felt evaporates, and then it gets hot and it cooks and makes it sticky, and then it doesn't run right. So I have this needle tip precision lubricator from Radio Shack. That tells you how old that is. But it's worked for this long, and I still have a tiny bit left. But in any case, I used this to clean it out. Well, first, I used rubbing alcohol and this to clean out the shaft and clean out the holes and things that looked all toasted, and put oil back in, and it ran a little bit better, and such that it was spinning nicer. But today it doesn't seem to spin as well. So I figured, okay, this week I went and I bought this newer kilowatt meter, and I'm just going to try and see, these ones, because I have another one that's a 370. It's a C370 NB or BNR that I also took out that was intermittently having issues. So I'm going to see what that one runs like amp-wise, and then I'm going to see what it looks like for this new one, just to compare and see, hey, coming right out of the box, it pulls this much. After they're older and things are dried up, it pulls this much. Again, I don't know if it's going to be useful, but I figured if I'm playing around with it, I might as well make a video. First one is the one I cleaned up and fixed. That's 0.9 amps. Second is the brand new one. That's 0.83 amps. So that's different. Here's the 70 CFM unit versus the 250s. Let's see what this one does. This is 1.16. And then let's clean up the 70 CFM unit. So basically just take it apart, use the alcohol, try and clean it up some. Get that light oil on the bearings and into the felt a little bit just to see if it works a little better. Put it back together correctly, and then get it all going, and let's see what it does. So 1.16 was the baseline, without the fan blade, it's 0.84 with the 70 CFM fan blade on. And then it's 1.16. So same amps as with before the cleaning. So that one was doing okay. And then I tried it again with the smaller blade. Unfortunately, none of the fans that I still had that were completely stuck and not working well are still in the stuck and not working well, because this one was in that state, but I had already lubed it up before getting the new thing to test it, because I wasn't thinking of that. So this one was a little bit sluggish. This is actually a 70 CFM unit, and I was wondering what the difference was. It turns out it's the diameter of the fan assembly. You can see this, the 350 one is a little bit smaller. Well, if I hold it clear at the edge, you can see the difference. So that's the difference between the 350 and 370. My guess is it's a very similar motor and such, which kind of makes sense. It's just a bigger piece. So So I don't know. At least now I have this. Again, I don't know if this was useful, because this one that I just cleaned, it spun mostly okay before. It spins better now by hand, but it spun mostly okay before, the 70 CFM one, and it pulled about the same amps before and after. So yeah, I don't know. No idea. But I tried it. We'll see what happens. But at least I now know more of how these fans are put together, if nothing else. I don't think these are worth trying to get bearings for, because these are only 25 or 20 to 25 bucks each versus the 40 to 50 for the box fans. Plus, it's one thing to have a box fan where you can see it and you realize, hey, the fan stopped. It's another thing if it's up in the ceiling and you can't really see it. And it's also easier to plug box fans into GFCI outlets that will pop the breaker versus having the ones up in the ceiling. You have to make sure that's on a GFCI breaker by itself, because there's no way to put a GFCI plug up in there. It's just not how those things are wired. So I would rather not put one of these that I had lubed up back in the ceiling and then just let go, unless it was an emergency. And in which case it would be still, you keep a close eye on it and yeah, get a new one as soon as you could. So, but it was interesting. The new fan, or I should say the brand new 350, has a different shape fan assembly. It's made out of black plastic, which I don't know if it's a different material, but it also has holes in the top versus the solid tops that the old ones did. So maybe they figured out that, hey, if you put that there, more air will go in or can get pulled in to get pushed out. I don't know. But yeah, fun with fans.